Immediately getting drop frames. Let me fix that. Let's see here. Gotta close all the things, you know? It's astounding these days how many applications connect to the internet and use up a fair amount of data. I mean, it wouldn't be as big of a problem if American internet providers weren't so bad. I think that's gonna work. Looks like we fixed whatever the problem was, so I'm gonna hit the dev streaming. You may have noticed that I am not doing a webcam stream today. And it's not because I feel particularly unstreamable. I'm as good or bad looking as any day, but turns out the new Windows update does something heinous to both my webcams and my Elgato capture card. I had planned to make a review video today for the Pokemon Let's Go, because now that everyone's moved on to Smash Brothers, I wanted to talk about the previous game that I was hooked on. And yeah, can't do that because I can't get any footage from it. It's frustrating. But that's what you deal with. So what we're going to do in order to make myself feel better today is we are going to make a, let me double check, make sure you can see that. All right, we are going to make a stopwatch. So the gist of it already you can see right here. So the way the update loops work is that every frame, every single update function on every single mono behavior is called once. And the way time.delta time works is this is the number of seconds that it took to complete the last frame. So if you keep adding up time.delta time to itself in a time double, that will give you the number of seconds at any particular point that have elapsed since you started counting. And with that, we can then use, as you can see here, let me zoom in a bit and then I'll scroll over. So as you can see here, we can take those seconds and we can grab the minutes from them, the seconds from them, and the milliseconds from them with a handy function called timespan, which does most of the work for us. So we know this is all we have to do in order to make it work. So then the next thing we have to do is just create the stopwatch controller itself that you can use to, how do I word this? So that you can use to, in the case of this program, it's in order to track a routine, maybe how many minutes you have left, or have it count, vibrate every minute, something like that. We have the vibrate function, very simple. That's assuming it lets me show it here. Vibrate, easy peasy. There isn't even like a size of vibrate or anything like that. So that's already taken care of for us. The program that we are being somewhat inspired by and somewhat multi-timer. The functionality from multi-timer stopwatch is what I basically am looking to emulate because it does exactly what I need. So instead of writing out notes and trying to remember what I need, I have a handy dandy reference here. And yeah, so that's what we're doing today. Assuming we don't lose every frame in the universe, I'm gonna actually stop the local recording and see if that helps. It wouldn't surprise me if the Windows update was another thing that took out my functionality. Drivers, you know, work with what you got. Hopefully I don't lose so many frames that the audio is terrible, but if it is, c'est la vie. I'm not going to stress about it too much because this is ultimately more for me than anyone else on any given day. And yeah, you know, you gotta do what you can. So we're gonna create a script, call it stopwatch. And again, it's a controller, but we're just calling it stopwatch because we already know that it's a stopwatch controller. And now let's open that up in here. Well, once it compiles, sorry. And we know that we need to put it in our namespace. This has to be a well, it doesn't have to be, but it really should be a mono behavior because it is going to be using the update function, which is this guy right here. Without that, we're going to have a much harder time counting, and I don't really want a much harder time when I'm trying to make a simple program. What we're going to attach it to, I don't know yet. It's just any game object, it won't really matter. Oh, and in other news, Unity actually has released the first version of Unity Lite, I think it's called, their smaller Unity package. And what's cool about that is it means that we will be able to make this program without like the physics engine attached or any of the other excess video game components. So the actual install should be incredibly small, which that's very exciting for me. That's actually something I'm going to be playing with sometime soon, and we'll see how that goes. I'm pretty optimistic about it though. Okay, so, oh yeah, it turns out my last video I wasted a little bit of time. We're actually not going to be having multiple scenes. The way Liz wants to do it is we're going to have scenes, the scenes will be basically off camera, and they will slide in whenever you do something. So if you're pressing tabs down here, there will be these components that will slide in from down here. Whether or not I'll have them pooling and disabling and enabling to save resources, I don't know. We'll see. I don't expect this program to really kill your phone in any meaningful way, so yeah, not going to worry about it. But it does mean that, actually we can switch over to this one. It does mean that we can come over, let me double check this one, make sure there's not extra components. There's not, okay. So we can just go to this one that doesn't yet have a canvas because we don't actually care about the canvas yet. That's something we'll be starting on later. And what we are working on specifically, as I said, is the stopwatch. If we assume that we're going to want multiple stopwatches, that means that we then need a sub-watch class of some kind that will contain all of the components. I shouldn't say components because that's actually a description of a different thing in Unity, but it has all of the parts, constituent parts that we will be needing. There's a few things, obviously. For instance, we want to know whether or not we are counting, just counting, or if we're counting down to something. So I guess that's the difference between a timer and a stopwatch, something like that. Let's see here, public class watch, probably fine. Watch or a timer or a counter or something like that. We can just call it watch for now because we can rename it at any time. Especially internal classes are really easy to rename because you don't have to worry about the messing up any sort of file name structure or anything like that. Let's see. We're going to have the public double time. This is the current time in seconds. And obviously, I guess technically it's going to end up being in milliseconds because time.delta time ends up giving you milliseconds since it's less than a second for each frame. But you get the idea. It's a double. It's the time. If you want to return it, we can do a public timespan. Timespan. And what this will do is get return system.timespan from seconds time. Very simple. You can just do whatever the name of the watch is, .timespan, and then from there you can do .milliseconds or anything like that. Helps us do some shorthand so that we don't have this written everywhere, which is good. Matter of fact, I will zoom or scroll down a little bit because we want to keep it up in this area so you can see what I'm doing. Not that I necessarily want everyone copying everything I do because what I'm doing is not necessarily, almost certainly not best practice, but it works for me, and that's what really matters. Honestly, in my opinion, best practice is whatever actually works, and beyond that, you know, just do what you can do. Still got a little bit of coffee left. I am not sleeping tonight. Should be fine. I'll survive, maybe. All right, so we've got time, our time span. We need to know whether or not we are counting to something. And again, I guess we can say public bool is timer equals false by default. Because I think more often, or no, I guess, well, yeah, we'll leave it as false for now. So that timer decides, and we'll leave a note for ourselves so we remember. Eventually, I guess we're gonna, if we're gonna have repeated timers, we'll want to know if something is repeating. So in that sense of, do we want it to vibrate every 5 seconds, that kind of thing. If we're doing that, what would be, what you could do is you could do a public double what, that's a word, right? Intermittence is a word. Pretty sure it is. Come on, dictionary. I guess intermittent is fine. Equals 0. When, if ever, should we do something? Default is vibrate. Or will be vibrate once we get it set up. So if this is 0, it'll be ignored. If it's a non-zero value, that means every X seconds we will vibrate generally. Okay. It's actually really interesting. I don't know if you've ever noticed it. I mean, you probably have, but it's really interesting how much humans hate dead air and how hard it is to stop yourself from saying all the time. I struggle with it myself, but yeah, I'm definitely aware. So if you ever hear it, I hear it too, and is what it is. All right. So we've got our time, how much time has passed, time span, which converts time into the time span, frankly. Okay. We then need to have a list of watches. Do we want it as a dictionary where you can find specific watches to edit them? I suppose that is the case. So you'd have a public dictionary string watch pair, and we'd call that the watches, and just create a new dictionary. So this is all of our watches. So for instance, if the watch you were looking for was the watch that you called, no, let's not do a dictionary. We can actually still do it as a list, and I'll show you why. Public list watches equals new list watch. And the reason we can do that is we can have a public string. Do we want name? Is name's not taken if it's just a class? Yeah. And with this, we'll be able, when you name your workout routine something like pants, then we can search through the list and find the entry with pants. Is that technically slower than a dictionary? As far as I'm aware, yes, considerably so. But, and obviously you'll want to double check on that. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But when you're dealing with the amount of watches that we're going to be dealing with, which is on the order of maybe a dozen or two, or even if you had 100, it doesn't matter. The performance impact you're looking at here is impossible for a human to perceive. It is just wildly small. So yeah, coming down here just to show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's just a list of watches, and the reason that you can do it this way is you can actually do watches.find x, where x.name equals example. And so with this example, this would find the workout that has the name example. And so the way that'll work is when you click on a particular routine, or sorry, a particular timer, or in this case a watch, if you click on a particular watch, when we find that watch by its name, we will get all the information we need from it, and then we can edit it and that sort of thing. And because we're making it a list, it's just much easier to keep track of, and it's easier to, I mean, I guess clearing is not any harder in either of them, but it's just a little bit more friendly to work with. Yeah. I mean, you could technically do a dictionary and still do this, but yeah, I feel like putting the name on the actual stopwatch itself makes more sense, especially since when we go to save this as save this during the saving and loading IO controller stuff, it'll be very important to be able to easily see it in the JSON without having to do any sort of shenanigans, because shenanigans are sad panda and I hate dealing with them. Okay. Now, favoriting. That's something can be added later. Don't need to feature bloat. Creating and destroying watches are something that we need next. Public void create watch. And that's just as easy as having string name. What information do we need to know? We need to know whether or not it is a timer. And we need to know if it is intermittent. And then we need to know, well, we need to also know the, if it's a timer, we need to know the time that it's counting to. Double time equals 0 by default. And I'll show you why in a bit, because obviously, well, I guess we could make 2 create watch functions. One for, nah, we'll just keep it at 1. So we need to then make a constructor up here just to make my life easier. Public watch string name double time is timer. Bool is timer, and then double intermittent, and then this dot name equals name. This dot time equals time. This dot is timer equals is timer. This dot intermittent equals intermittent. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And we can actually make another one. And it's basically the same thing, but we're going to get rid of intermittent. And that'll just leave intermittent at 0 for whenever that's not the case. And we also can make one that does not have time on it, because if it is not a timer, it'll just be counting up forever, so you don't need to set what it's counting to. Yeah. And then that means we can get rid of time. Again, this may be getting a bit too clunky, so I'll probably be skinning it down in a bit, but you know, it's fine for now. And then we're doing a watch equals new watch, and then we've put in the name, so name is timer, intermittent, time. Oops, time needs to go over here. Now you might be asking yourself, why is intermittent on the end here like this? If it's a function that doesn't have to be there, that's optional because we're setting a default to it, then it has to be on the end with all the other ones. So we can't put it any earlier. And like before, we're going to actually do a if watches does not if watches dot find x, where x dot name equals name. If there is no entry in this series, what you complaining about, mister? Oh, I see what you're complaining about. It's actually this. Okay, so if we search through the list of names, or sorry, the list of objects, watch objects that are inside this list, and none of them share the name with what we're about to send through, then we'll add it. We don't want to have two things with the same name in this list. And in fact, we'll do it this way. So we're going to move this to the bottom, and we're going to say debug.log warning SW workout with this name already exists. And later we'll want to make this a Boolean. Matter of fact, we might as well just do it now. We're going to have it return false and then return true down here. So if we return false, that means so creates a new watch, returns whether or not creation succeeded, which should explain to you exactly what my thoughts are or what my goal is here. I think what I'm going to do over in my Unity scene real quick is I'm going to stretch this up a bit. Make it, about 50-50, right? And then I'm going to go into Streamlabs, find my Visual Studio. We're going to bring that bad boy up. Look at that, so much room for activities now. Then we'll lock it. All right, so why is it complaining return? Oh, I see, I'm missing a semicolon there. How embarrassing. All right, so you can see a little bit more this way. And then we have a public bool remove watch. And for that, we're just looking for the name of the watch. And so we do, we'll return true on the bottom here. But if watches.find x where x.name equals name returns null, that means that there was none in here. We're going to return false, and whoops, similarly, we're going to say workout with this name does not exist. Now this should never happen because I'm going to be creating the buttons for removing, so obviously if it happens, it means I've messed up somewhere. Oh yeah, I need to... wonder if I can do... I probably could, but basically what I was thinking was watch equals... Yeah, I kind of figured it would get mad at me. Don't do that, mister. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. And down here, we say... Oh, nice, there's a train out there. Yeah, so watch equals this. If watch is null, return a warning. If watch is true, remove it and return true. And we'll add a note up here. Removes a watch from the watch list, returns whether or not it existed, or whether or not it was removed. All right, so that's done. So now we can create watches, we can destroy watches, we have a list of watches. We need to make this system.serializable. So now we are, we've made the watches visible in the inspector. What else? What else? What else? I think I may end up creating a separate watch and timer set of classes. Sorry, I'm adjusting because my body hurts if I stay in any one position for really even a small amount of time. It's kind of irritating, to be perfectly honest. All right. Those are just buttons. So we've got the name, got the... Yeah, so let's just do that now before I get too far along. So we have a watch merely... Because you figure a timer is counting to something and then setting off an alarm. A watch is merely telling you what the time is. So... just thinking here. Name time, time span is timer. It's interesting when you get into even these relatively trivial things, trying to work out all the stuff you want to do to make it easier to work with. Because if you create a timer and a watch class, then you potentially have two lists that you're dealing with, which is not the end of the world, but I'm just debating whether or not that's necessary. And then obviously you can make it so that one inherits from the other, so you can have a single list. And then we get into the question of whether or not we want to just do it as a dictionary in the end, just to cut out the fines. Because you could still do that and still have the key of the key value pair be the same as the name. I'm also going to change this to title, just because using name always makes me uncomfortable. Yeah, we might as well. Ooh. So now we're doing watches.contains key title. If it contains the key, bad things happen. Otherwise, we'll add it, and then down here we're doing watch equals, or oh yeah, we could do this down here as well. Watches.contains key title. And then down here we're doing title. And we can delete this for now. All right. So now, going back, I guess we can get rid of this for now. We don't need that functionality yet. What functionality do we want specifically for now? We'll keep it very simple. This is merely going to be a body that counts up to something. And then, once that is fully finished, then we will add in the other features. I think that's the best strategy. Yeah. All right. There we go. Cool. All right, so what values do we need to contain? We could actually do... You could either iterate through the entire list every frame, and then if the object is active, increment the time on it by however much time has passed, or we can have the watch be... I mean, I guess technically that's what's going to happen anyways either way. So basically, public bool is paused or we can just say paused, equals false. Actually, I kind of prefer active to be false. And the reason for that is you go watches. I don't think we can do for each on that. No, so we got to do for each key value pair string watch in watches if watch dot active. Sorry, if watch dot value dot active. So if it is not active, or sorry, if it is active, then we will do watch dot value dot time plus equals time dot delta time. Yeah, I've always thought that dictionaries are just so ugly, but what can you do? Just close your eyes and cry, I suppose. But yeah, this would work. So every frame it would go through, see which ones need to be updated. So what I wonder is this faster? So if we say if it is not active, skip to the next one. I wonder if that's faster. I actually have no idea, but sure, we'll try it. So basically what it says is if it's not active, go to the next key value pair in this dictionary, and then otherwise it'll increment the time and then go to the next one. So yeah, we'll try it. Worst case scenario, I'm wrong. And that's fine, frankly. And then, although it'll probably be, yeah, it won't matter. Okay, so we've got our watches. We do not currently have a way to create them, but we're getting there. And then enabling and disabling watches. So public void pause watch, and that's going to be string title. And so then we go if watches, this needs to be exclamation point. So if watches dot contains key title, and again we're saying if it doesn't, although again none of this should be happening if I make my stuff work right, but I guess that's sort of what we're actually doing here is we're doing this mostly for bug fixing in the early game, so to speak. And then we, watches title dot active. We might as well make a function for this. Nah. Equals false. Because basically what you could do is you could make active a private set get and then do a couple really nice functions. Public void pause active equals false, and public void unpause active equals true. And then down here you would do pause. And similarly, we can take basically this whole function, copy it again, do a little bit of rename in here. Oh, excuse me. Oh. There will come a day where I can get through an entire stream without any kind of burpages, but Today's not that day. My poor innards. Okay, that's still good. And then we just got to fix the summary. Curious. Yeah, cool. You can see roughly what I'm doing. All right, so now you can pause and unpause watches, create and destroy them. I suppose at this point, we should make a little... Oh, we should also overwrite the toString function. We're going to grab this. Just delete this whole thing out of here. And then public override toString. And let's see here. String. Oh yeah, we can actually shorten this as well. Time span. Time span. And time span. And we're just going to say string. Actually, we don't even need to do that. We can just, since we already got it done, just do return this. And so now, when you string out a stopwatch, it will return the proper formatted time, which is great. All right, are we missing anything currently? Not really. We'll still need to make something that hooks into these so that we can show it, but we can at least do a proof of concept real quick with a canvas in my no canvas scene. Oh, how scandalous. Just living on the edge, I tell you. Text Mesh Pro. We'll just stretch it out because we can. And then we'll just call this a timer hook. I'll make a new class later and give it a different name and all that. Because basically what we're going to want to have happen is that after every timer is updated, we'll send out an event or something like that that tells everything else, hey, your timer is updated, buddy. Ooh. I'm about to faint over here. That's okay, we're almost done. So we are going to, on the fitness controller, I'm gonna add the watch, sorry. Oh yeah, I called it stopwatch. Whoa, is there two of them? Okay, that's no good. I only see one, so that's good. So we got our stopwatch. And we're just gonna say find object of type stopwatch. Oh, here we go. A stopwatch. Create watch, and we'll call it testing. Unpause watch. Testing. We'll probably want to make it so that you can have them start paused or unpaused. But down here, we're going to say get component text mesh pro UGUI, and I'm going to right click on it, and oh, I didn't find it. Well, if you're going to do that, I'm just going to do this. And come back down here, text mesh pro UGUI text equals, and again, what I'm doing right now is horrifying, but you know, Yeah, you do horrifying things sometimes. So what should happen is we should hit play, and this text should change to a time that will start incrementing up every second, in theory. Hey, look at that. I mean, obviously it needs to be justified or something. Let's see. How do we fix that jiggle? This? Nope. I think it's because some of the numbers are different sizes. I'll leave that to smarter people who pick... I forget what the name of the fonts are, but it's like fonts where every single symbol is the same width. Equidistant. But yeah, we have now officially created a stopwatch. Obviously, there's no play and pause button, but making those won't be very difficult. You just need to, on that timer hook, you just need to have the key that connects you to that particular watch on it, so that when you press the stop or play buttons, once those are equipped... Ooh, resetting. That's something we need to do. Well, while that's counting, let's go over to our stopwatch and add a function. And I guess we can do that up here too with this, where it's a private get set. Or sorry, private set get. And I need to switch those around because it's a getter setter, not a setter getter. He says, as if it matters. Public void reset. Time equals 0. All right, so we've got reset, pause, unpause. How exciting. Suppose we could test whether or not multiple... Oh yeah, let's go over here real quick. Our stopwatch, the dictionary does not show, but if I'm using Odin, which is excellent. So I believe if we do serialized mono behavior, I believe if we do that, we'll be able to see the dictionary. Yeah. That's fair. So we'll, yeah, we'll just make it public. Because I want to deal with that later. But now we should be able to see the dictionary over here. Hey! So that's cool. How nice. But let's clear... Oops, we don't actually want it to be null. We just want it to be empty. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so that's the lovely thing about Odin Inspector is we can now see what we're working with. I believe it even shows getters and setters. It might not. It's fine if it doesn't. Title, time. Yeah, I could have sworn it would, but... I don't need it to, so... Although, a way you could do it so it is visible is you can do a private bool underscore active. And I do underscores because they're hideous, and hideous is important for what we're about to do. And then you would say get return active set active equals value. And we're doing, it would be a private set still, but we can serialize the private variable. And then if you look over here, and by over here I mean in the scene, you'll notice that it's now visible. So that's good. All right, and we'll just do the same with time. Why not? We're here. We got a few more minutes before I'm going to stop this video. private double underscore time. Get return time. Private set time equals value. And then we need a public function for updating time. Public void update time. This dot time equals time. And then down here we say public value dot update time. And we do this. Oh. Watch dot value dot time. In fact, let's actually rename this to add time. Whoops. And then we can remove this, go into the function and say this.time plus equals time. Added time. Time to add. Sure, we'll go that way. All right, so now everything should be visible over here. So we'll look, we see title, time, active. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to create another one of these after we fix something. So we're going to do public string title. And then we're going to take that, put it down here. I want to show you roughly what I'm thinking before we go. Okay, so we've got two of them. On the first one, we'll call it testing 1. And on the second one, we'll call it testing 2. So now when we hit play, after I move this second one down, we should see that they both are running. And then we can go over to the fitness controller and open up their information. We should be able to pause one, unpause it. Yeah, look at that. So now we have working clocks or working timers. And so the next thing we need to make is just timers that count down to 0 and then make, matter of fact, we'll probably just make three different ones. We'll have ones that count, just blindly count till you tell them not to. Ones that count down to 0. And then we'll have ones that count and vibrate every X number of seconds. And yeah, that's I think that's pretty good. I'm real pleased with that. Works exactly as I was expecting it to, which is so very nice. Yeah, if you watch this at any point between now and the heat death of the universe, thank you for watching. If you didn't have a good day today, I hope you have a good day tomorrow. And who knows, maybe sometime in the foreseeable future, the Windows update will not have broken all my stuff, and I will be able to do video streaming again, and videos. How lovely would that be? Quite lovely. I think so. Have a nice day.